The dawn over Ironhold was a cruel joke. Its pale, gray light didn't bring warmth or hope, only a clearer view of the devastation. I stood on the ramparts, what was left of them, and surveyed the ruin. The air, thick with the stench of dust and something far worse, clung to the back of my throat. Below, the survivors moved like ghosts, their faces hollow, their eyes empty. Morale wasn't just low, it was a shattered thing, ground into the dirt alongside our fallen brothers and sisters. Whispers of surrender slithered through the makeshift camps like a sickness. But the abyss doesn't care for surrender, it only consumes. My gauntlet felt heavy as I clenched my fist, the worn leather groaning in protest. We were out of almost everything: food, water, medicine, but most of all, we were out of time. The watchtower beacon, a single flickering flame against the encroaching dark, suddenly flashed a sequence I'd hoped never to see. A coded message. Desperate and frantic. A civilian enclave. A pocket of families we thought was secure in the old merchant's quarter had been overrun. They were trapped. Their last signal a plea for a miracle. A miracle. I looked at the roster. Every soldier was accounted for, every name representing a body pushed to its absolute limit. Sending a rescue team meant pulling defenders from our already paper-thin line. It was a choice between two impossibilities. Leave the civilians to their fate, and a part of our own humanity dies with them. Send a team, and we risk the collapse of Ironhold itself. The decision was mine. The weight of it threatened to crush me. I called the sergeants. There was no time for debate, only for brutal arithmetic. I picked the names. Men and women who had already given everything. I looked them in the eye and gave them their last orders. Some would go. Some would stay. And some would be left behind. The guilt was a physical thing, a cold blade twisting in my gut. As the first true light of day broke, my small, hand-picked squad moved out. We didn't march. We ghosted through the broken streets. The fog from the abyss was already rolling in. Not like a weather pattern, but like a living predator. It crawled along the ground, a liquid shadow that coiled around rubble and seeped into cracks. It deadened sound, making the world feel claustrophobic and unreal. The silence was worse than the screaming had been. Every step was a gamble. The abyss had laid its traps well. A tripwire, not of cord but of solidified shadow, sent Sergeant Elara tumbling into a pit lined with jagged, obsidian-like shards. We hauled her out, bleeding, but alive. A near miss. Minutes later, a pressure plate triggered a collapse, burying young Kell's leg under a ton of masonry. We dug him out, but his mission was over. Trust began to fray. Every shadow looked like an ambush. Every gust of wind sounded like a whisper from the dark. Loyalty was tested with every life or death choice I had to make. We finally reached the enclave. A fortified townhouse now eerily silent. We breached the main door and the sight within stole the breath from our lungs. Civilians, maybe 24 of them, huddled in the great hall. They were gaunt, terrified, but alive. Barely. Relief washed over me, a fleeting, foolish feeling. Because then we saw it. The walls themselves were wrong. The stone seemed to breathe. Dark veins pulsed within the marble, twisting and corrupting the very foundation of the building. The abyss wasn't just outside, it had infiltrated the city's bones, turning our sanctuary into a weapon against us. Before I could even shout a warning, a section of the wall behind Private Thorn warped, lashing out like a tentacle of pure darkness. It wrapped around him, and he just dissolved. No scream, no struggle. Just gone. The truth hit me with the force of a physical blow. The abyss doesn't just kill, it rewrites reality. It manipulates, it erases. Panic erupted. We grabbed the civilians and fled. The entire structure groaning and twisting around us as if trying to swallow us whole. We burst back into the fog-choked streets, running for the only defensible point I could think of, the old Grand Bridge. We made it, the last of us, a ragged collection of soldiers and civilians. We stood together on the crumbling stone span. Looking back, the abyss was advancing from all sides. The fog swirled, and within it, shapes moved. Things that defied geometry and reason. The city we were trying to save was being unmade before our eyes. There was no retreat, no escape. The chasm yawned below us, and the darkness pressed in. A child clutched her mother's leg, her small whimper the only sound in the suffocating silence. I drew my sword, its familiar weight a small comfort in a world gone mad. I looked at the faces around me terrified, exhausted, but not yet broken, not yet. I raised my blade, its edge catching the dim light. My voice was low, a rasp against the encroaching void. We fight, or we vanish. Thanks for tuning in to Steel Against the Abyss. If you're on the edge of your seat, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. The fight for Ironhold is far from over. See you in the next episode.